and welcome to Do It Like a Dancer. This video is in response to a request on a video which is here or somewhere on holding your core and breathing at the same time when I talked about an exercise that uses contractions and spirals. And someone asked me to talk more about what contractions and spirals really are. So this comes from the Graham technique, and obviously the contraction is a huge and important part of the Graham technique lexicon. But the thing is that I think what sort of the contraction gets, people get confused about it because what they think it is just sort of like a squeezing of all your abdominal muscles like this. You know, because of course you can't, you can't really see it, but you have the contractions that are like this in the Graham technique. Okay. However, that's not really what they are. They're not because what that does is when you do it pulls your spine back, and that's not what we're doing essentially in a contraction. What we're doing in a contraction is pulling the very base of the spine and the pelvis in, so the actual contraction happens here. It does not happen here. And if you just squeeze your abdominal muscles, then this is what happens to your body. And that's not what a contraction is. So a good way to sort of experiment with this is if you're in a flat back and you try and you do the contraction in the flat back, right? So you can see here, it's not, it doesn't do this, it just ever so slightly takes this part of the back and rounds it. And so the contraction is absolutely, is here in the lower abdomen, but again, it's not really, it is a squeezing, but it's more of taking, it's if you're trying to take this part of your body and make it smaller. So in a seated position, it would look, it's not going to look like this because you can see what that does to my spine, right? So what it's the base of the spine, just the very base of the spine that's pulling in and contracting and reducing itself in size. And of course I can still breathe during it because it's lower than my lungs, but as you can maybe tell, there is a small effort. And then when it releases, you can feel it. So again, it's not a complete collapsing of the abdominals. It's here in the pelvis, just that sort of contraction. And if you see my shoulders slump, I'm doing it wrong. So really, if you would see a contraction in the seated position, it would just be this. And you can see that from the side angle, where it's just this, right? And it's just a small movement. So that's a contraction. A spiral is kind of the same principle, but it takes the pelvis as the base and it imagines the body sort of becoming a DNA helix. So in the Graham technique, wait, I feel like I'm gonna be too, wait. So it's this kind of, so if the pelvis is still, then the body spirals around. But it's more than just a twist, right? So it's not just you're twisting your shoulders. The spiral goes up the body. So in a seated position, if your pelvis is the base, then it's not just that you turn the body to the side, but that basically, if I'm turning the body to the side, then the pelvis begins the spiral by pulling backwards, and then the body continues, and instead of my face going here, the face will go away because the spiral is coming up and around behind in some ways. So if I were going the other way, it starts in the pelvis, and then the body rotates into it. So there's this incredible opposite forces here in the back of the pelvis and it's pulling the body up, and this shoulder is not going that way, it's going that way, if that makes sense. So I can show you from the side, maybe. So if I were to spiral this way, no, it has to be this way. It's like the opposite of what I think. If I want to spiral this way, then I can't just turn the body. It starts in the pelvis, which pulls back, and then, no, it's actually here, it's this pelvis, which pulls back, and that starts the rotation of the body going up and around, right? Or here, it starts the rotation of the body going up and around. But the most important thing with a spiral is that it's never just a twist. It's a spiral. It goes up and around. It reaches. It goes around like this, and it's continuing because the spiral is infinite. And the spiraling body doesn't stop, so the energy continues to move up and around through the body. So that's kind of a crash course in contractions and spirals. Let me know if you have any questions. And see you next time.